Hello everyone, it's Emily, and before we get into our podcast, I wanted to remind all of our listeners that every month, Bernie and I host an Unreasonable Connection event where you can meet your co-working peers, talk, swap stories and advice, and get an extra charge of energy. Sign up on Luma or in the show notes, and let's get on with the podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Coworking Values Podcast. I'm Emily Breeder, and I facilitate work in challenging circumstances. We're doing the accessibility edition today, and we're talking to Alex Young, the Director of Projects. Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about your position there?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I've been really looking forward to having this conversation with you. So I, as you said, I'm the Director of Projects. We are a shared workspace provider, currently with 2 spaces open, both in Brighton in the United Kingdom, but with plans to open many more across the UK and then maybe further afield as well. It's likely that we'll open in London in the coming months and then Cambridge, again, both in the UK. And then we will keep you posted where we end up. So my position is to oversee the day-to-day running of both spaces that we have and make plans for the new sites, ensuring that we are living and breathing our mission, which is to be the home for better business. And for us, that means creating workspaces where people can be their best self and be around other people that will support them. And we really believe that co-working is an instrumental part of society because we bring people together in real life to share experiences and to support one another.
Definitely. One of the things that I do with Bernie all the time is body doubling, where, he finds it so much easier to get work done if we're just working alongside one another. And even though we're in 5 time zones apart, it still works just fine, just to know that somebody's there to support you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's human nature, isn't it, to want to be around other people. And it doesn't have to be, if you're somebody that gets put off by somebody else chatting to you or you need silence, just you can find workspaces. And I know this is going to come up in our conversation around inclusivity. You can find workspaces that work for you no matter what your needs are, even if it is sitting in silence but being next to someone. It is motivating, that's for sure.
Now, when somebody is starting out at just creating a co-working space, what are some ways that they can address and make sure that anyone with accessibility issues feel welcomed and included?
There are so many things to consider, and I think that in itself can be quite overwhelming for people and they worry about getting it wrong. I definitely am not an expert, but what I can say is there have been a couple of instrumental things that we've done at projects which have really helped us trying to ensure that our spaces are inclusive. So starting with architectural and design standards, we really try to think about universal design. So making sure that our spaces are accessible to all people, regardless of their physical abilities. So, when we're looking at new sites, we're trying to ensure that we're only choosing buildings that have wide doorways, ramps, lifts, accessible bathrooms, things like that. I find this topic, really important and fascinating, and have done some research. And there's something called the Centre of Excellence in Universal Design, and they have some findings that say that approximately 83% of people with disabilities said that they would visit venues more often if they were assured that the venues adhered to universal design principles. So, creating an inclusive space is so important to begin with, to make sure that the building is designed in a way that welcomes all people. You can then go and do other things to physically, make the space more accessible. Things like we have adjustable height desks, or quiet spaces, ramps, maybe cords or things like that. It would just like signal that if you have different needs, and this building will work for you.
What are some ways that workspaces get it wrong when they think that they're doing it right for accessibility, but they're really not?
I think the main times people get things wrong, regardless of who they are or what the topic is when they don't ask the people that they're trying to help exactly what they need. Any kind of assumptions are often wrong. So I think that having a space that you're trying to create in the most inclusive way needs to be started from a point of having people in the room with diverse requirements and opening up a conversation about how you can be better, what kind of support can you put in place, what have you done that hasn't worked, and really just listening actively to find out from the people that you're trying to help exactly what they need, rather than going off and coming up with, I don't know, programs to get them involved or adapting a space only later to find out that it wasn't actually what was needed because you didn't ask. So I think having the confidence to say, look, we won't always get it right and we might have got things wrong, but please talk to us, and opening up that space, that is the most important thing that you can do to make sure you're not going to get it wrong.
What are some ways that people with accessibility issues can advocate for themselves when it can be a difficult topic to broach? People can be uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Well, I think the most important thing to begin with is to just be really open and clearly communicate what it is that you need. Do you have specific accommodations that need to be made? Because if so, it's your right to be able to communicate those, and it's really important that you do so. If it's ergonomic office equipment or software modifications, maybe flexible working hours. It might be a physical modification to the workspace, or it might be a policy that you feel you need to see to make sure that you feel you can come and do your best work. You need to be able to clearly communicate that with your employer. And I understand that, speaking from a place where I don't have the lived experience, I can only imagine how difficult it is to be able to start that conversation. I can imagine it would help to see in advance of you even applying for a job that your workplace has accessibility and inclusion policies. So I think starting from that point, align yourself with organizations that are demonstrating that they want to be better and they will try to work on their diversity. So yeah, that would be my advice. But I'm no expert in this field, so I hope that helps.
What's something that people often miss that maybe is a low-hanging fruit for helping people with accessibility issues?
I don't know if this is the case globally. Unfortunately, I would assume that it isn't. But for us in the UK, we're very fortunate to have a government fund called Access to Work, which a lot of people don't know about. And it will provide you with funds to be able to make your workplace more inclusive. So we work with a gateway provider who is absolutely amazing. They're called Exceptional Individuals. And we don't pay them anything. We purely get in touch with them when we have a new employer, and they will do an assessment and then work out what kind of funds we can get through the Access to Work grant through the government. And then they'll put in place things like coaching, mentoring, assistive technology. And so I think, first of all, low-hanging fruit is working out what is already out there that exists to support you or your employees in making the workplace more inclusive, because there are some really good things out there already.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't have any idea about that.
It's been really, really beneficial for our employees. We have people with autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, and they've been able to gain such a wide range of different types of support. It's so individualized. And yeah, I can't recommend looking into something like that enough. I just only wish that it was the same across the world, but I have a horrible feeling it probably isn't. But we're very fortunate here in the UK to have that.
Yes, I don't know if there are programs like that in the US. I'm sure there are a few. And of course, we have the ADA here, the American Disabilities Act. But those are things you also have to fight to protect too. You have to keep up on the news about them, and when funding is pulled, you have to object. You have to stand up and say this isn't right. Can you tell me a story or of an incident at an event or something like that where advocacy for somebody with a disability or self-advocacy for somebody who has accessibility issues was overcome in the correct way?
So there's a co-working space in Berlin called Impact Hub, and they have worked on creating a mentoring program which pairs young entrepreneurs with people, experienced business leaders, and they pick the entrepreneurs from minority backgrounds within the city, and they used this program to foster inclusivity, as well as helping people, improve their business skills. And I think for a city which I grew up in Berlin, I should have started by saying that, as a city which is often known for some segregation still to this day in different ways than previously, but now with a lot of disconnect between certain minority groups and Germans there in the city. That is an incredible thing that the co-working space has endeavoured to try and overcome. So I think looking at not just what's going on in your immediate workspace, because you might not be aware of any kind of major accessibility or inclusivity issues within your four walls, looking slightly further afield and assessing what's going on in the local community and working out if there's something that you can do to make a positive difference there, I think is really admirable.
How do you see the future of accessibility in co-working spaces evolving over time?
I think that rightly so, people are looking to ensure that they are aligning themselves with more inclusive buildings and basing their teams out of them, even if their full-time employees don't have a range of accessibility requirements. They know that if they're wanting to put on their website or talk publicly about where they're based, it's much better for them to be in a space where everybody is welcome in case they want to run events or they want to hire more inclusively or just publicly signal that they are somebody that cares about inclusivity. I think it's just becoming more and more popular for people to look out for those kind of accessibility requirements within buildings. And I'm really glad to see that as a change. We've had people move into our workspaces because they no longer want to be in a building that isn't accessible. They found it acceptable at the time when they chose to work elsewhere, but now they've changed what's important to them. So I'm really glad for that. I think if we're looking slightly further into the future and thinking more outside of the box, there's going to be integration of AI and VR as well that can hopefully further enhance accessibility. Maybe allowing people to virtually participate in spaces if they can't physically be there due to any kind of geographical or physical constraints. And I'm sure there are many other kind of improvements that we'll see through AI. We'll have to watch this space. I mean, changes are happening so quickly. Those are the kind of main future trends that I can see in regards to accessibility in co-working.
Do you have a personal story of kind of your reason why you started working in this field?
I studied sociology at university, and I've always been motivated by bringing people together. I mean, sociology is the study of people in groups in society. And I remember at the same time as studying, I would go and work from different cafes and often felt like I was out of place. And then I started working for different small kind of marketing agencies that were based all in different co-working spaces around the city. And I couldn't personally find somewhere that I felt was inclusive enough to really bring together a diverse range of people. So while studying, I came up with the idea of it was actually kind of an app to bring people together to co-working different venues that were underutilized in different ways. So maybe a restaurant that was only open in the evening, how could we get them to be available on an app where people could book a space to come and work together in the day, or libraries and hotel lobbies and things like that. Anyway, that never took off. But when I graduated, I had already fallen in love with the idea of co-working and just wanted to play a part in making it even more integrated and collaborative and inclusive. So I saw a job description for a community manager role at Projects, which hadn't opened yet. So it was a brand new idea and a brand new role. And it honestly just felt like a dream come true. And ever since taking on my first role at Projects and working my way up, I have enjoyed every day because I feel like I'm making a positive difference. And that might just be a really small thing, like making somebody's day that little bit better if they've had a tough night and didn't sleep because of their children, or maybe making a really big difference in helping somebody showcase their brand and enable them to secure investment and making a big economic difference in the local area. Every impact that I've been able to have and then enable my team to have as I've grown in my role and brought on multiple employees is so rewarding. So I just feel so blessed to be able to be part of this industry because, you know, the impacts that we're able to make are long lasting and so important.
So you started in more of the technology side then?
So no, the idea that I had for an app never did materialize. It was just my way of thinking about, okay, I've visited quite a number of co-working spaces and I enjoy working with other people, but I just can't see a way to find everything that I want in a space. So I was coming up with different ideas for how I could get involved in co-working. Though I have to be honest, I feel very lucky to have found a position that was employed because I think, you know, just having graduated and not having had any real experience of working in the world of business, starting out on my own 2 feet wouldn't have worked out too well. So I feel very lucky to have been able to join a company that helped me grow and enable me to get to where I am now.
What advice would you give to a new co-working space trying to build an accessibility from the ground up?
I would say, first of all, start with a physical space and do everything that you can to make sure that it is accessible, whether that's installing ramps, ideally lifts, and making sure your bathrooms are accessible. I think it's really important to start with the layout of the actual space. And if there is a constraint that you have, work out how you can navigate through that for people with disabilities. Then after you've done that, I would really encourage you to work on workplace policies, making sure that they're inclusive, not just of people with physical or mental disabilities, but also just people from all walks of life. Like, how can you make your space work well for everybody? So, signaling that you are open to people from all walks of life being able to use your space however they need to. I think it's really important to train your team. So we regularly conduct training sessions on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Make sure that you cover things like unconscious bias and cultural competency and disability awareness so that whenever people come into the space, they're made to feel welcome. And then, look out for the support and resources that are already out there. There's a lot of available support and mentoring programs and resources that you can find online that will be able to assist you in your journey. And regularly assess what you're working on, get feedback from your members and from your team, be open to making improvements. I think if you start with those things, you'll do well.
If any of our listeners wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
I am very active on LinkedIn, so you are all welcome to connect with me there if you want to, or you're welcome to drop me an email. I'm an avid emailer too, so you can connect with me via emailing alex@projectsclub.co.uk or finding me on LinkedIn under Alex Young.
Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.